All right, welcome back. Kurt Schroeder, our sports director here at KOLO News Now, joins us once again for a look at sports. All right, Kurt, let's talk about the Wolfpack football team. We do this every week. They lost another one. This was the hardest game to take as Wolfpack fans because they kind of got blown out by UNLV. They did. So you lose the cannon, or I guess the cannon was already, read it in favor of Vegas there. But at the same time, in that game, it really wasn't competitive. You were down 28-7 at halftime, 14-0 early on, if you even want to go earlier in that game. So I know that it was only an 18-point deficit at the end of the game. Maybe people consider that close, but you still lost, and it didn't really feel like you were even in that ball game, Josh. It was 35-7 early in the second half. I mean, the game was pretty much over. I mean, Nevada did show some signs of offense after that, but you can't start that late and expect to ever pull out a win. And I think, too, there's still offensive concerns. Even though they put up their highest yardage total of the season so far in that game, I think a really telling statistic is 3 of 13 on third down. They still cannot put consistent drives together. I think they had a couple fourth down conversions, but you don't want to rely on that. You want to be able to move the ball down the field, drive it down the field. These halfback runs up the gut, these screens, sometimes when Brendan Lewis is panicking, just getting out in the flat, or some of these designed runs that don't really go very far. I just don't see sustained offense. So if you want to put up 500 yards a game, let's do it every game as opposed to just one game against a rival and still come out short. Yeah, start a little earlier too, and it doesn't get any easier this week. They play at San Diego State. Now the Aztecs are having a bit of a down year for them, but still, it's always a tough game and a tough place to play. It's a really weird San Diego State team because usually they really want to muddy it up. You know, you see those 17-14 scores, really low scoring. You know it's going to be a defensive battle. This year, it's kind of been the opposite. The Aztecs have given up a lot of points in certain games, and then on the flip side, they've also scored a lot of points offensively when you're used to seeing those one-possession games where Nevada could feel good about themselves going into the fourth quarter within one possession. Might not be the case this week against San Diego State. I believe that the Wolfpack is 2 touchdown underdogs in this one. All right, let's talk about maybe some better news for Wolfpack fans, or at least they're optimistic about the season. The Wolfpack basketball team, they were picked 4th in the preseason conference poll. You know, Coach Alford says this is his deepest team yet since he's been at Nevada. And it's good to see that number 4 preseason poll as well, because they got 4 teams into the tournament last year. So I feel like that's kind of on the threshold of you can be an NCAA tournament team if you do finish 4th or higher. They are deeper, and I think one of the things that's really encouraging is Daniel Foster is back from an ankle injury. KJ Himes is back after a back injury. Then they've added a couple bigs as well, because Will Baker was such a pivotal piece down low for them. Jazz Gardner, Drea Coleman, those are 2 guys who should really provide depth. I think the only thing that might be concerning early is experience, but then of course when you play more games you get more experience. But deep, young, talented, hopefully this is a good Wolfpack team, Josh. And Hunter McIntosh, we didn't really get a feel for him last year. He's thrown in the fire. I think he only played the final 5 games after that injury. Having him for a whole season and seeing what he can do and how he can contribute, that could be a really big boost for Nevada. Because he was their starting point guard entering the season last year. Then he got hurt, and we really didn't see him early on in the year. They had to shift Keenan Blackshear to point guard. He did really well in that position. And Coach Alford was asked in the preseason, do you keep Keenan at point guard? Where's that versatility there? I think we could still see Keenan in that point guard role from time to time, but Hunter McIntosh, a really good shooter, really good experienced player as your floor general, I think is a good place to start at least. Yeah, it's pretty exciting. They should be pretty good. All right, let's talk about baseball. The Diamondbacks, they've got 20 former Reno Aces players on the roster. They've come up huge in the postseason to get him this spot, but now the D-backs are in a hole against the Phillies. Yeah, and I don't know what you do to get out of it, because down 2-0 is never a place that you want to be. And at the same time, too, Arizona's strength is their 2 starting pitchers, Merrill Kelly and Zach Gallen, guys who were not Reno Aces, but they lost both of those games. And so in Game 3, they look at Brandon Pfaadt, who a lot of Aces fans are used to seeing. And then Game 4, that pivotal game, whether you win or lose in Game 3, I think Game 4 is really pivotal because you had Slade Ciccone pitch last night. You had Ryan Nelson pitch last night. Those are guys who have been starters in the past. They didn't throw a ton of pitches, so they should be available in a Game 4. But you start to look at where that rotation is. Do you throw Zach Gallen on 4 days rest? Do you bring Ciccone and Nelson and make it kind of a bullpen game? Just figure out what you can do to survive. I don't know what happens there, Josh, but yeah, being down 2-0 is never a place that you want to be. Yeah, the Phillies playing really well. All right, thanks, Kurt. We'll be back next week with a look at sports. We'll be right back.